You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, welcome to the Middle Age Movie Reviews Podcast. Three guys saying, yeah, we'll have 3 cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, 2 chocolate shakes, and 1 large Coke.
Flapjacks!
What's that, Joey?
And some flapjacks.
Okay, and some flapjacks. Is it too early for flapjacks? Well, anyway, my name is Tim, and my podcasting partners are...
Matt.
Joey.
And joining us tonight, a man who retains cinematic knowledge as if he watched the same film in an endless cycle. From CyberneticShark and MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channels, it's Cyber. Say hello, Cyber.
Salutations, everyone. How we doing tonight? Looking forward to talking about this great film.
Also joining us tonight, a man who may be the reason you experienced Deja Vu. From the Andres the Pop Culture Guy and the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channels, it's Andreas. Say hello, Andreas.
Hola, everyone. Greetings. Get get busy living or get busy podcasting, folks.
Nice. All right, Joey, why don't you tell us what we're watching yet again on the television tonight?
Tonight we are watching the 1993 movie Groundhog Day, number 897 from the book of 1001 Movies You Should Watch Before You Die, written by Danny Rubin and Harold Ramis, directed by Harold Ramis, and starring Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and Chris Elliot.
All right, well, thanks, Joey. But before you step away from the mic, how about you tell us when was the first time you remember watching Groundhog's Day?
Holy crap, I don't think I can remember. I think it was on VHS. I don't think I saw it on TV first. They wouldn't have edited anything for television, but it was certainly taken away from the pacing to have commercials. I want to say I saw it on VHS, and I've seen it many times on TV since. I want to say I've bought it on DVD. I've had rips of it on Blu-ray. I've bought the 4K, and holy shit, the 4K is gorgeous compared to the 2008 Blu-ray, because you know how do I know that? Because they packed in the same effing Blu-ray transfer from 15 years ago. It even has the same art on it. It says 15th anniversary edition on the pack-in Blu-ray. It's like, here's the Blu-ray from 2008, and then you get this exquisite 4K, which has the plainest menu ever. Like, you won't believe it until you see it. And I've seen this so many times, and it doesn't bother me. It's like I don't feel like I'm trapped in the movie when I see it. I want to watch it until the end. And it's I want to say I was, and you're different every time you watch the movie. Harold Ramis says that in the things that he recorded before he died. It's timeless. You keep coming back to it, and you're a little different every time you see it. So I think I was 14 years old. I don't think I saw it at the theater, but I might be wrong. I might actually even have a movie ticket stub of it. Did this come out after Encino Man? Anyone?
I do not know.
Let's find out, because that's
1993. This movie came out, so
I thought Encino Man was 92.
Yeah, then I think I have a movie ticket stub to this.
Wow!
Because I started collecting my movie stubs after Encino Man. So
nice.
I've seen it many, many times, and I'll watch it many, many, many more. At least once a year.
Well, I wonder if that Blu-ray transfer, if you can see how extra frizzy Andie MacDowell's hair is in the movie. Because I mean,
probably in the 4K. I want to say they didn't clean it up. Like there's more noise, and you could tell the film's aged, and I think the way they clean those scans up has come a long way. I think the 4K came out last year, so we're talking at least 14 years,
right?
And so the tech just came leaps and bounds with the new scan.
Nice. Well,
hang on, man. I gotta say, you can't be picking on Andie MacDowell's hair, man. She looks gorgeous in this.
She
thing.
does. She does.
She
does.
She's got that just the luscious locks going on, man.
I will take Andie MacDowell and her 90s hair or the worst haircuts on Elaine Bennis and Seinfeld any damn day of the week.
Yeah, I'm just teasing at the fact that it was a very, very teased hair, and you can kind of see. I mean, I watched on DVD when I rewatched this movie, so you can see a little cleanup with a little bit of the extra frizz and frills coming off of her head. So
Don't
I
care
don't
how
pick fun.
Crazy fucking cold some of the days they were shooting too.
Yeah,
and I don't know how that affects long hair because I've never had any long hair. But that's something they talk about. There was like cold through your bones and up in your asshole cold on some of the days they were shooting.
Gotcha. Well, we bring up long hair. I think I'll turn it over to the gentleman who has the longest hair out of all of us. And I'm going to ask Tim, when was the first time you saw Groundhog Day?
First off, to answer Joey's question, it makes your hair dry. Winter equals dry hair, just so you know. So, yeah, not good.
So frizziness. So you can't have too much moisture and not. There was a giant fucking cat's ass came by this camera. I'm gonna start that over.
Yeah.
So what you're saying? So what you're saying, Tim, is that you can't be too dry for your hair, but as we know, you can't be too humid either, right?
Yeah,
it's gotta be just right.
My hair is already kind of dry, anyways, very straw-like. So
that's because you're fucking old.
Because no, it's been that way my whole life. So thank you, Joey, appreciate that. But
God hates you.
But yeah, like humidity, I've never had that problem. I know my wife, her hair goes all kinds of crazy, but no, like dry, mine just gets drier. Like it almost gets brittle. It's horrible. But anyway, this isn't hair talk. Let me get on with it. The first time I seen Groundhog Day, I mean, it's 1993 here. This is a full-on date movie for sure. I went to the theaters. I'm sure on a date to see this. I mean, Bill Murray, how can you go wrong, right? It's going to be a classic. It's going to be funny. It's going to be a good time. So definitely the first time I seen it was at a theater.
Nice. Well, Cyber, how about you? When was the first time you saw Groundhog's Day?
The first time I saw it, it was on VHS. We had purchased it from Columbia House Movie Club.
Nice.
It was one of those times when you could get like 12 of them for like $1 or something like that. It was something like that crazy back in the day. And I remember getting it because I believe my parents had watched it before and really enjoyed it, so they decided to grab it. And so that's how I first watched it. I didn't see it on TV. With commercials or anything like just like Joey was saying how he hadn't seen it like that. And I remember seeing it uncut the first time and just falling in love with this film because I thought the whole concept was just such a fun concept. And plus I was a huge Bill Murray fan. So I was like really psyched about that. And then of course, yeah, we're talking about, Andie MacDowell being in, I had seen her in Green Card the previous year and really enjoyed her in that. I remember just having a huge crush on her and everything and thinking she was just the hottest thing. And I remember thinking, oh, Andie MacDowell again. I'm like, nice. And so seeing her in it, I was just like, holy crap, that's awesome. She's playing another love interest. And talking about her hair a little bit, everyone's been talking about, I don't know if you remember, but in Multiplicity, her hair was exactly the same way. She just has that naturally buoyancy hair. Like, I don't know if that's just how they feathered her hair wherever movie she was in. But, yeah, she definitely always has, like, that very frizzy, like, big, thick hair. So, I think on the 4K transfer, as Joey had mentioned, I had noticed that you could really tell that it was very frizzy in certain scenes versus other scenes. So,
you could see the coffee stain or maybe it's tobacco from smoking stain on her teeth.
Yep.
Not to say she's not pretty, but you could see stain on her teeth. We're talking very high res.
Yeah, very, very great, very good transfer of the film. I think it looks pristine as hell because I think, watching it from like VHS to watching it on 4K, you're just kind of like, holy crap, it's like I'm watching it in live action form. Like I was actually there filming it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really impressive, the 4K transfer, but Yeah, my first time was watching it on VHS, and I absolutely just loved it, and just fell in love with all the different characters. We had we had a great kind of ensemble cast in this film. I mean, so many great people. I mean, Michael Shannon was in it before he was really big and popular.
That was going to be my trivia question. Like, did anybody notice Michael Shannon? WrestleMania tickets! Most white trash gift for a wedding.
Pretty much. And then Chris Elliott. I absolutely love Chris Elliott in this film. I think he's absolutely hilarious, especially during the great auctioning scene. That freaking hilarious. But like Harold Ramis popping up in it, and all the other people, it made the film just feel like all those great Harold Ramis directed films from the early 90s to the late and early 80s. From Caddyshack to and everything like that. So I mean, it's just one of those films you can, like Joey said, you can watch over and over again and find something every single time to enjoy more about it, because each time as you watch it, as you get older, things change. So I totally agree with him on that, and I think that's a really good way of looking at the film. So yeah, really great experience with this film.
Awesome. Well, before I go any further, Andreas, apparently your camera or your channel has stopped recording. So I'm gonna bump you out for a second. I'm gonna have you actually come back in, see if that can't bring back your recording.
Fuck you, Andre. You're gone.
Bring back Andreas! Bring back Andreas!
All right. So, Andreas, when was the first time you saw Groundhog's Day?
Oh, wow. Well, it was actually with my mom. My mom was in college a couple years ago. Well, it was like 15 years ago. She had to do some dissertation or some analysis on the film Groundhog Day. And I kind of was with her watching the film. And at that point, I started to love the film and became a traditional Diaz household watch for me. I just loved the film. I mean, I knew who Bill Murray was. I mean, I was a Ghostbuster fan at that point when I was a kid. So I was like, oh yeah, that's Peter Venkman and Ghostbusters. And, ever since, it's one of my personal favorite, movies. It's one of the best movies of all time. It's my personal favorite of Bill Murray's performance after, Lost in Translation. It's a tie. I just love this film, as a lot of you guys brought up before. The premise is so unique. It's the Christmas Carol meets A Wonderful Life, but in a sci-fi comedy. It's wow. That's a good combination. I'll definitely take it. And it's timeless. I mean, it's on a holiday we say rarely, but it's such a weird holiday, and it's so cool they use that holiday to make this present work. And I was so happy to be watching this today. It just brought back so many memories I love, and just this film. Oh my god, the movie is so quotable. To wrap up this, it was so funny. In my high school, I used one of the quotes here to do an improv, and it was the part where Phil just completely was fed up of the time loop, and he starts to badmouth in the camera, and he's pitiful. Bunch of people out here worshiping a rat, and I used that as a monologue in my theater class, and it just shows how much I love this film. So I'm very excited to talk about this.
Nice, awesome. Well, I too am with Joey. So this movie came out in my freshman year of high school, and a few of my friends on lunch was talking about this movie, so I immediately had to go out and see it. So that weekend, I had conned my mom and dad into taking us to go see the movie, and my mom, it wasn't that hard of a sell for my mom because she was a big Bill Murray fan. So, but yeah, I remember sitting in the theater watching this, and I thought it was really great. There's just something about that feeling of seeing it on the silver screen. It kind of takes me back every time I watch this movie, and now I've watched it on DVD and VHS, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it in all kinds of formats on TV. So yeah, this is definitely a keeper for me. I really enjoy watching this movie. So, but yeah, that's pretty much for our first question. And considering that we've talked a little bit more about the movie than I was expecting, I've already got some points to hand out to you guys. So before we even get to the synopsis, we're already going to kick out some points. So, Cyber, you had mentioned that actor Michael Shannon, and you like totally cut me off on this first question. So guess what? You get a point for Michael Shannon. And Joey, because of your awestruckness over the Michael Shannon comments, you get a point as well. So
WrestleMania tickets!
Congratulations, gentlemen. You start off right off the bat, before we even get to the synopsis, before Tim can jump on it and let me know, as the master of puppets, what is going to lay down for us on the synopsis. Tim, tell me.
Well, it's a new year, but it's going to be the same shtick. So tonight, Matthew, I would like you to channel your inner Ned Ryerson, and I would like you to read the synopsis as if you're talking to Bill Murray, or Phil as we know him, as Ned Ryerson on the street.
Hey, Phil Connors, I thought that was you. Don't tell me you don't remember me, because I sure as heck remember you. It's me, Ned Ryerson. You don't know Ned the Head? Bing. I dated your sister until you told me not to. Bing. I heard you were back in Punxsutawney to cover the Groundhog Day festivities. Hopefully you won't refer to him as a rat this year. What is this, your fourth year? Talk about deja vu. It must be like you've reliving the same day. Can you imagine what that would be like for a weatherman to relive the same day over and over again? Bing! I imagine you would be in denial and really freaked out. Then I guess you would want to test the boundaries of that, of what you could get away with. Huh? But then realizing you were doomed to relive the same day over and over again, doing the same thing, seeing the same people, never breaking out of the same daily cycle would drive you insane. Bing! Then again, I would guess if you could accept it, you could use the time to master the kinds of skills that really figure out who you are and what you want in life. But hey, that's just me. Wherever I see an opportunity, I just charge it like a bull. By the way, do you have insurance? Hey, where are you going? Whoa, hey, watch out for that first step. It's a doozy.
Very nice, Matthew. Very nice.
Thank you.
Bravo. You're definitely dead. And,
Bravissima.
yeah. And this is just for thank you. I'm gonna punch you right now. Just for delivering that awesome quote, sir.
All right, gentlemen. Well, let's dive into that story. So, it is February 1st, 1993, and as we all know, the cynical television weatherman Phil Connors reassures his Pittsburgh viewers that an approaching blizzard will mist western Pennsylvania. Alongside his new producer, Rita Hansen, and cameraman Larry, Phil travels to Punxsutawney, where his annual coverage of the Groundhog Day festivities. He makes no secret of his contempt for the assignment. The small town and the Hicks who live there, asserting that he will soon be leaving this station for a new job. All right, gentlemen, so we open up and we see them traveling from Pittsburgh to this small town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. So what did you guys think of the introduction of Bill Murray and Andie MacDowell and our good friend Larry, a.k.a. Chris Elliot, and kind of establishing their characters? And I'm going to throw it over to you first, Cyber. What did you think?
So, it's a really great introduction to the film, getting to know these characters. We get right off the bat, that, Phil himself is a very egotistical weatherman that thinks he's better than everybody. And we really see exactly kind of where he is at, in his mind, in his career. And we get kind of an idea that, he thinks he's better and he wants to go on to do other meteorologist stuff in other, places and stuff that are higher ranking than Pittsburgh. And we kind of get that. And then we get kind of a brief introduction to, his producer, Andie MacDowell's character, who who Rita is kind of, kind of down to earth. We kind of get off right at the bat. She's kind of, kind hearted and all that kind of stuff, and seems to be very endearing and stuff like that. And then, of course, we get, the great camera guy, Chris Elliott's character, who, Larry, who is, very much, he's been in this position for many, many years. You can tell he's very seasoned, and we kind of get an idea of that in the car ride from Pittsburgh to Punxsutawney, when, Larry's like, he's like, why do you hate it so much? I did Sam as a Capistrano 6 years in a row, and I loved it. So, you could definitely tell that Larry is like he's there for the run. He's there for his career. This is all about him. And so this is what he loves to do. So we get this egotistical guy, this kind-hearted woman, and then kind of this carefree, loving guy that loves his job, introduced. And it's really done well. You get to see how funny they are, how fun they are. And you kind of get an idea of where each of them are at right this particular point on February 1st versus February 2nd and the returning of February 2nd. So I really enjoy the beginning. I think it's a really solid start to the film. We got a lot of great one-liners right at the get-go, and it's just a really solid start to the film.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of agree. One thing I noticed about Bill Murray's character is it kind of seems like he's channeling his same character from the movie Scrooged when it opens up. He kind of has that same, jerkiness to his character as opposed to what he becomes later on in the film. Not quite a fun-loving Peter Venkman, but more closer to like the Scrooged character. And speaking of Scrooge, I'm going to turn it over then to Tim. Tim, what did you think of the opening sequence with Bill Murray and Andie MacDowell and our good friend Chris Elliott?
Oh, man. I'm not going to lie. That cuts a little deep, man. That hurts calling me Scrooge. What's up with that? See if I invite you again for Christmas.
Well, okay. All right. Well, I wasn't calling you Scrooge, but you were the one with the Scrooged movie. So.
Okay. I see. Nice backpedal, sir. Anyway, I like this beginning because my understanding, the original beginning to this film was we were supposed to just be introduced right straight into Bill Murray being in the cycle of his time loop, and we were going to have to figure it out. And I think it was brilliant for them to decide to back it up a little bit before the actual time loop starts. They actually filmed the studio part at the end. They had to come back and do reshoots for the introduction of Phil and Rita and Larry, and I think it was a brilliant move. And I think it does something. And watching this, having Chris Elliott in it, because I remember Chris Elliott from back in the David Letterman days. That's where I start with Chris. Loved Chris on that. Loved Letterman back in the day. It was Late Night with David Letterman on NBC. The whole Phil character reminds me a little bit of David Letterman because he starts off as a weatherman in Indiana in real life. Like that's where David Letterman started, and so he kind of brokered a career from there into comedy writing and then his own late night show. And I feel like that's what Phil sees for himself. He's better than this. He's not just a weatherman. And you can tell by just the goofy stuff he's doing when he's talking about the weather and blowing on the screen and, talking about things. So, he's in his mind, he's bigger than he is and he's going to go places. He just has to get out of this little, podunk little studio. And then you got, we get introduced to Rita, who's a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, producer. And she seems pretty new on the scene. Like this is all new to her, very exciting. She's very upbeat and stuff. And she's an interesting counter to Phil, who's seasoned and grizzled and just like, I'm better than this. And, like you're just this kid and you have no idea how this really works. And then we've got, Chris Elliott's character, Larry the cameraman, he's the solid rock of it. He's that guy. He's been around. He's seen a lot of things. He likes his job. He enjoys what he's doing. He tries to make it seem bigger than it is, often to anybody that will listen. But overall, he kind of digs what he's doing. He's on the Rita train, and Phil is definitely not. He's like, you guys are just here because I have to have you here. Your minions, just stay out of the way. Let the talent do their thing here, and we'll get through this horrible assignment that I have, having to go to Punxsutawney yet again for the fourth year. So It really introduces those characters very effectively. You don't have to have a lot of build up on any of them. You know who each of them are as soon as they hit the van. The little conversations they have kind of reinforces that before we get to Puxatani and we begin, basically going through our time loop. So I really do like how they kind of inserted this and changed the original script. I thought it really started off quite nicely.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned the on-air talent, so I'm going to have to go over to our on-air talent and ask Andreas, what did you think of the introduction to Groundhog Day?
Oh, spectacular. I think it's not much to add. I think that both these wonderful and beautiful men in this podcast done such a beautiful job of explaining what makes this opening.
Complimenting everybody doesn't get you extra points.
What? I'm not getting the points. I'm not getting the points. I'm just accompanying my whole series.
I don't like being referred to as beautiful.
Okay, Shark. You want me to call you a ugly
handsome,
half man?
Maybe gorgeous, but not beautiful.
Not beautiful. Wait. You fine with gorgeous, but not beautiful. That is weird. Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna judge you. No. The opening is, so efficient, so concise, just giving us information about our characters we're gonna be with for the whole hour or so. And Bill Murray, he's such an amazing actor who really knows how to be a douchey, was an egocentric person, and he just delivers that. I don't think no one has come close to being that kind of person. Maybe there was a lot of casting who was going to be filled. I think Chevy Chase could be the closest to deliver that personality, but I think Bill just does it so well, and you can see how he's fed up with this, his job. He wants to go for more ambition, career, at his point, compared to, what he has right now, and just the way he treats people, particularly with Rhea at, the beginning, I just love, it's funny how he as I hear about, the people of Punxsutawney and the whole Groundhog thing, and then I just like how he opens the mirror and it's like, hey, can you react that, and it's just so funny. And yeah, just him interacting with people, how he views people, it's above him, and yeah, it's just works so well, and just the dialogue here is just so spot on, and just you get to know the character so well before the whole time loop, as Tim said before. So fantastic opening, but the music is really great. I love the music here. It just gets you into that mood of Groundhog Day in such a weird way. And I think the opening is just so good, and just Bill just brings his end game right away. When he does his weather report, he's like, oh, it goes to move here, and then when he talks to that lady and it's like, this is going to be my 4th year doing it, whatever her name was, and it was funny. So yeah, great opening. I'm very excited to talk about the time loop, because that was where it was like, oh my god, what the heck's going on?
Well, Andreas, you did point out the way Bill delivers the news report, and I thought this is kind of neat, where you see, as Tim had mentioned, Rita Hansen and her naivety towards being a producer, and it's kind of neat to see how she interacts with the green screen or the blue screen. And I just thought that was very much definitely establishing that maybe this is her first time as a producer. And speaking of producers, Joey, what did you think of the opening sequence to Groundhog Day?
I love the opening. We've got these beautiful clouds. It's a foreshadowing, because he's a weatherman, and his day and how he gets trapped in Punxsutawney has to do with the weather. And so we're seeing these gorgeous clouds played up in speed, or maybe it was time lapse. I'm not sure how they did it. And then we see him doing what he does best, being the funny weatherman. And then we see Andie MacDowell's character, Rita. She's acting like she's never been on like in the newsroom before. She's playing in the blue screen. It's not even a green screen; it's a blue screen, and she's playing on it like a kid would.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess it made me feel like it was like she was really new, but I think they were just trying to establish that she has kind of a childlike innocence. And that's part of the reason why she's such a good person and she's nice to people, which is the opposite of Bill Murray. He's still a funny guy at the end of this movie. He likes being funny, but he goes from being very self-centered to there's a journey of becoming selfless. And he goes from being mean-spirited to being positive and still being funny. So everything negative he basically does a 180. And when we meet him, he's a fuckface. Yeah, he's not a talentless fuckface. He has value. He does his job well, but he doesn't like, having to go and mix with the normies and cover something that he's covered before. He'd rather stay in the studio. You send somebody else to, fuck around with the Groundhog and, we'll kick it to them and let me stay here, where I get to sleep in my own bed tonight. And, the whole remote shoot it's just beneath him. And Andie MacDowell kind of already knows this because the first thing he does is he throws a bitch fit because they stop in front of the Pennsylvania hotel when in fact she lets him know you're not staying here. You don't have to complain about the hotel. I got you a nice bed and breakfast. And he's happy about that. I don't know how happy he is by the time he's woke up there. He froze his balls off in the shower 10,000 times. Which makes you think after the first 2 times, I think he just went stinky. So it's a great introduction, and
they probably shriveled up and became like little marbles.
Yes,
raisins,
little frozen raisins. But the movie's a journey. It's a spiritual journey, and we are here at the beginning of it where Phil doesn't realize how flawed he is because he's so self-absorbed.
Gotcha. Yeah, it is the start of the hero's journey. We established that Phil Connors is not a good guy. And so we see the progression of his character throughout this movie.
Yeah. He's not a monster like Scrooge, though.
No.
Yeah.
So,
he's not going to staple antlers to a mouse.
No. He's just self-centered. Just very self-centered. And, the world revolves around him.
So. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, that moves us into some questions to deal out some points. You guys ready for this? Here we go. A little trivia. All right. First person to raise their hand raise your hand. That way I can at least, get some kind of semblance of structure here. What is the real life connection to the mayor and Phil Collins? I'm sorry, Phil Connors. Cyber.
It's his brother.
That is correct.
Brian Doyle Murray.
It is Brian Doyle Murray. All right. Well, considering supportive roles, what 2 other productions does Chris Elliott and Brian Doyle Murray have in common?
Cabin Boy.
Yeah. There's actually one other one, too.
Was it
really?
Was it the Fox series that he was on?
Get a Life.
Yeah.
Get a Life. All right. Well, I'll give a point to both Tim and Joey on that one.
Yeah, we got to split those points.
We got a 0.5.
Cyber, you get another point for that. The answer to the brothers. All right. Name the actor that Harold Ramis originally wanted to portray Phil Connors.
Oh, it was Tom Hanks. Oh, sorry, Cyber.
I say Cyber had his hand up first.
His hand up.
Cyber, the other actor.
And then also he was looking at Chevy Chase as well.
And
the other one, I just saw it.
I'll give you a clue. I'm Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, yep. Those were all considered for the role.
Yeah, and still,
All right.
instead, Michael Keaton did the classic Jack Frost.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
Yeah, way better movie than
Multiplicity
well,
with
well,
Andie MacDowell.
with
Yes.
Andie MacDowell. Yeah.
we'll forego the hand raising since shouting it seems to be the better way to go. All right. Name the famous 1990s female vocalist who was considered for the role of Rita.
Was it Madonna?
Nope.
Nope.
Andreas, your mic is muted.
Debbie Gibson.
No, not Debbie Gibson.
Sheer.
No, not Cher.
Oh,
That would be hilarious if it was Cher.
yeah.
I just
Oh,
Tori
man.
Amos.
Yes, Tori Amos. And who Wikipedia'd that?
Cyber. He knows. He did look at him. You can see it on his face and in the reflection
I
on his
looked at
glasses.
it before. I looked at it earlier.
I don't care.
All right. Okay, so that ends the first round of trivia. So Andreas has no points, man. I'm sorry. Tim, you've got 1.5.
I did yell at Tom Hanks.
Yes.
I think I should get at least another half point for that.
All right, fine. All right. You'll hit me with legality for 2 points there. Fine. All right. Tim's got 2 points. Cyber, you're at 4 points, and Joey, you are also at 2 points. Don't worry, guys. There is a bonus round where you can earn some serious points coming up. So
Big money.
I will reveal that to you later. All right. Act 1. So on February 2nd, Phil awakens in the Cherry Street Inn to Sonny and Cher's I Got You, Babe, playing on the clock radio. He gives a half-hearted report on the Groundhog Punxsutawney Phil and the festivities. Contrary to his prediction, the blizzard strikes the area, preventing all travel out of Punxsutawney. And although he desperately searches for a way to leave, he is forced to spend the night in the very cold town. The next morning, Phil wakes once more to I Got You, Babe, and the same DJ banter on the radio in his room at the Cherry Street Inn. Phil experiences the previous day's events, repeating exactly, and believes he's experiencing deja vu. He again unsuccessfully attempts to leave the town and retires to bed. When he awakes, it's again February 2nd. Phil gradually realizes that he is trapped in a time loop, which no one else is aware of. Okay. So yeah, we'll leave it there for now. So, gentlemen, this is probably the first time we see in a major motion picture the kind of time loop that you would have seen in like Star Trek or any of the classic sci-fi tropes. But this actually kind of like kicks it off, and it really drives it in with this whole fantasy-esque story. And I just want to know, what were your thoughts when you first got into this movie, when you first seen that whole time loop to kind of get you into this mindset of what's happening to Phil? And I think I'll start off first with Joey. Joey, what was your thoughts when you first saw this initial time loop?
I don't recall the trailer, but I think I knew that he was living the same day again and again. But this is our first introduction to it, just the same as he is. I'm very glad they went that route instead of having an abrupt beginning where we're watching this weatherman lose it and we don't know why. I don't think that would have worked as well. In fact, that's kind of how another version of this story plays out. There's a short story that was in 1973 called 12:01 p.m. And that got adapted into a short film, which actually got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Short Film. It didn't win. And then 2 years later, Groundhog Day came out. So, yeah, they got sued. That version picks up where he's already done the loop a bit, and he's starting to react and talk about it and talk to a person about the fact that he's stuck in a loop for the first time, and he's only gone around maybe 10 times. In that version, he's stuck in 1 hour. It's basically 59 minutes, and he's back to 12:01 p.m. again. He's really hungry for lunch. So, and I shared a link with Tim and Matt, and hopefully they'll share it with you guys, because that's a much darker version of this fucking story. And to start it and get to know Phil before this, and to see his descent into madness, makes this less of a disturbing movie and much more of a lighter, more fun film. And I'm glad they did it that way. I'm glad we get to experience the loop, the first couple of loops, exactly the same way as Bill Murray is, in chronological order.
Gotcha. Well, Joey, you kind of headed me off on the pass there, and you've already mentioned 12:01. So congratulations, Joey. You get a point for that. All right. So speaking of heading people off at the pass, since he likes to jump the gun and cut off the whole hand waving thing, Tim, what did you think of the initial time loop?
Well, let me tell you what I think. I like the way they did. I mean, it starts off, he goes through his first round of Groundhog Day. Obviously, we get to see the jerk that Phil is, and he gets there, he wakes up, we get to see that really cool, like, flip clock, which, it's like, I think it's a Samsung or Panasonic clock, but I like that they didn't use a digital one or anything like that, because you get to see that flip each time. And sometimes they add a little sound effect with boom, and things like that. So that clock is instrumental. I think picking the Sonny and Cher song was perfect, because it's just so monotonous. That whole dun 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 dun, I got you, babe. It just goes on and on and on throughout that whole song. So you couldn't have picked a more annoying song with the best chorus that just kind of reinforces the whole loop over and over again. One of the things that I think was kind of a sad thing that didn't come to fruition was that they originally wanted a couple of hometown boys for Matt and I and Joey here. Back in the early 90s, there was a radio duo in Chicago named Steve and Gary. So Steve Doyle and Gary Meyer. Then they were supposed to originally be the radio announcers for this, which I thought they probably would have done a great job. Not that the guys who did it were bad, but I thought it'd be great. But I guess Steve was all about it. Gary was like, nope, I don't understand it. Don't want nothing to do with this. So kind of a missed opportunity there, but that's kind of a local regional thing. Most people don't even remember those guys anymore. So maybe it's more of just an old Tim thing. I don't know, but I thought it was a missed opportunity. But outside of that, I thought it was interesting. We get to go, like I said, we get to see Phil finally go do his first round of, introducing, Puscatani Phil and doing the Groundhog Day and everything. And you just see the disdain he has for doing this. And then he jumps in that van, when he's leaving that morning to go do it. He's, kind of talking to the little lady who runs the B&B, and she's like, "Are you checking out today?" He's like, "Chance of that, 100%." Doing the whole weatherman shtick with her, and I like how she asks about the weather, and he starts talking about it, real dramatically, and she's kind of glazing over, and he's like, "Did you want to talk about the weather, or were you just being nice, making conversation?" She's like, "Making conversation." She's like, "I thought so," and out the door he goes or whatever. And then, once they're done, they jump in the van, they're heading back, and they get stuck. They realize that here comes a snowstorm. He gets out to argue with the police officer. He's like, "Hey, why can't we go?" And he's like, "Dude, there's a snowstorm coming." He's like, "You need to get in the van, head back to Puscatani, or you need to, you can go forward and die a hideous cold death." And so they reluctantly go back, but not before they stop at the gas station. And he's calling, trying to figure out if he can basically figure out a way to get home. And he's talking to the operators. Of course, there's no long distance and stuff. And I love how he's kind of like, here's a self-important, Phil again. He's like, well, don't you have a secret line for emergencies and celebrities? And you don't hear it, but the person on the line, like, well, which one are you? And he's like, I'm both of them. So he's trying to work every angle to try to, get his way so he can get out of there. And I think one of the cool moments is, you see people coming in the gas station and somebody hits him in the head with the shovel, which I think is funny. And I read some stuff online where people are like, maybe that's what starts the whole timeline, because, like hitting him in the head basically does that and it starts the loop. But I I don't really buy into that, but I thought it was an interesting theory. And of course, they're stuck back. They have to go back to the inn. And then here we go. We see he goes to sleep. Alarm clock flips over the next morning, and we start the whole process over again. And now we know we're officially in the loop. And he becomes a little unhinged. So I think that's pretty much where we're stopping. But I enjoy the simplicity of how they introduce the time loop with the clock, the music, and then him laying still in the bed, and waking up. So it's a fun and interesting way to do it, and it totally sells it in a very easy, understandable manner. You're not very confused. Like sometimes when people try to do time loopy things, it gets really convoluted and weird. And I think they did a great job of just making it super simple and fun.
Fun fact: it's a Panasonic model RC-6025 radio alarm clock. In case you want to get your own on eBay.
I imagine they probably smashed every one of them in this film.
Well, I didn't look up the model number, but I did look up that it was a Panasonic flip clock. So I was going to give you a point for that, Tim, but I'm afraid I'm also going to have to give a point to Joey because he found out the exact model number. So I'll give him a point for his Googling skills.
Yay! Did anybody else think that they recreated I can't find it documented anywhere, but they have that slow, really they call it the weight of time, where you get to see those instead of it flip, the numbers are flipping really, really slowly and crashing. Does anybody think that the props department just made a giant one for that?
I thought that because of how slow it fell, and it just looked really big. I mean, I'm not talking like
shoot at high speed, but I felt like that's not what we were seeing.
Yeah, it almost felt like something that was constructed maybe like 3 feet high.
I know the clock that they did use was a trick clock, so it was designed to only flip between those two numbers. So that's average. Yeah, they didn't have to flip through it all again each time. That's all that clock did. But I kind of looked at that too, and I thought maybe they just got real close. But
yeah, the way they did it is either if you wanted to slow down the footage, you kind of reverse it in the editing. So they probably did a normal shot of the clock doing the normal thing, and then tried to slow it in regular time. So that's probably how they did it instead of what you're sketching, Joey. That could actually been what they did. Maybe made a big clock.
I'm
model,
wondering if remembering a commentary that I failed to get to rewatch, but I'm guessing that it was a giant replica for the close up of the numbers.
I don't think it'd be that hard to make. I see that being a pretty easy prop to make.
Yeah.
So.
Professional props department's gonna nail that.
Yeah, that's a week-long project at best. And probably
it's not 2001. It's Space Odyssey.
Yeah. We're not creating
make the miniatures look big. We're gonna make the tiny thing look giant.
Well, how about you, Andreas? What did you think of Phil's first time loop, being a time traveler yourself?
That's a good one, Matt. I love that. So unlike you guys, I did not know what was Groundhog Day. I was like, okay, it could go either way. Is this Hallmark, romance movie where this guy goes to the town and it's all about Groundhog Day and that's what it's about? Or I thought it was going to be a horror movie, or a slasher movie where there's a killer named Phil and he's just using the groundhog as a way of just escaping his crimes, and that's Scully Mark.
He's having the groundhog gnaw through people's necks.
Yeah,
I'm watching the shit out of that.
Yeah, and then when the time loop happens, I was like, oh, that is really cool. Okay, we're in a time loop movie. Okay, so I was like, okay, I'm in. This is a fantasy movie. And, Tim brought this up, and ever since this movie, we have great films that has done time loops. Edge of Tomorrow, Happy Death Day, Palm Springs. But one of the things I don't like about those movies I don't mind it, but like, is the explanation of the time loop. One of the greatest things about this movie, Groundhog Day, that it does is it doesn't explain it all. It just happens, and it's like, what the heck? Like, how the hell he got into this? And that's probably the wonderful things about this movie is so timeless. Is like you don't know or what caused the time loop. You know, it like, you know, people explain like because how Phil is as a person, this could be a judgment or a punishment on him, and it's just like he's maybe going through this like, you know, this like arc here of trying to be a better person or something like that, or you know, maybe a sci-fi thing, some comic came over, you know, but it's like you don't need to know that. It happens, and it happens to this, you know, egotistic person that's so self-centered, and he's stuck in this time loop. And I thought the first time was so great. I mean, you get the best reactions when he meets again that like guy, the guest that's in the house, the breakfast, I don't know what you call
The
it,
bed and breakfast.
bed and breakfast. Thank you. And he's like, "Oh, you think it's gonna be spring again?" And then he's like, "Don't trick me. What day is it? Pork chop?" And he's like, "February 2nd, Groundhog Day." And he's like, I was like, oh my god, like Phil is like slowly like, and then he meets the other lady, you know, who's running the bed and breakfast thing. She's so funny, like she's so like, I don't know, like she's such aloof of like what's like I was like, I don't know, you know, and
I like when he says to the guy, he's like, "So do you think it's going to be early spring?" He goes, "No, I'm predicting, you know, March 20th."
Yes, I love that one. That was so funny. I was like, yeah, just a great way to like, I don't care about you. Just leave me alone. But yeah, you know, and of course the "I Got You Baby" by Cher, "I Got You Babe" by Cher and her husband, you know, Sonny. Great pick. You know, it totally simplified the repetitive time loop that we're going to get into. So that was such a clever way to like foreshadow like the impending time loop. So I thought that was a good pick, and I never get tired of it. Every time I hear that song, it's like it gets back to me thinking about Groundhog Day, and then smashing the clocks every time. And it's like, oh yeah, this like every time I have to get up and go to work, it's like, damn it, I have to start over again today, you know. Yeah, and it's just great to see his interaction with people, like particularly Rhea. You know, I love the first time he's telling like Rhea about like the Deja Vu, and then he gets slapped by her. It was so funny, and I like how Chris or like, you know, Larry say, "Did you need help with another one?" And it's like, "No, thank you." So I thought that was really great, and the shovel thing. That always cracks me out when he gets hit by a shovel. It's like, and Bill's reaction is like, "What the hell?" You know, and then when he wakes up again, for the third time, that's where it becomes a horror movie. Like, speaking of horror movie, like oh my god, it's like, oh my god, I need to get out of here. You know, it just annoys that. And one of the, you know, as Tim brought up the interesting thing, apparently, if you don't pay attention to this, the whole clocks in the diner, the tip top, it stops ticking. And that tells you that we're in the time loop, and that it predicts Phil Collins' predicament of the time loop. So I thought that was kind of interesting when I was looking at my notes here. And you know, just other things like the Cher thing, like the fact that I was kind of surprised. I thought this song was like in 1970s or 80s. I forgot that this was the 60s. 1965, that song came out. "I Got You Babe." So yeah, I love this section. It's so funny. I never thought we were going to be in a time loop. It's like I don't need anything to explain to me, and like that's what makes this movie so special. It's like they don't explain it. It's like they just like put you into the time loop right there. And I like how slow build it gets to the time loop. You know, like, okay, here's the first phase where he hasn't yet break down, you know, his sanity until he got to the like third loop. It's like, oh my god, I need to get out of here. So I really enjoyed that. What's the ending point, Matt? Before
he hasn't quite confided to Rita yet about what's happening to him.
Yeah. So like when we get into the third loop, because that's where he gets like the oh, this could be a good life for me.
He
That's
has
how it's
kind of a breakdown, and he doesn't stick around to talk about Punxsutawney Phil. He
exactly
goes back to the diner.
Oh,
so
and,
we're pretty much at that point. So
yeah.
But,
So just last thing to say, I just love when he say like, "Oh, it's Groundhog Day again." It's like we're doing it again. I just thought the way he delivered that was funny. So yeah, great section. Did not know what I was expecting. I say before I thought it was going to be a slasher film or going to be a Hallmark romantic movie, like typical 90s, like Notting Hill or the Four Weddings and the Funeral or something like that.
Gotcha. All right. So I think that brings us to Cyber. Cyber, what was your thoughts on the first couple time loops?
So this is when the film really starts to get going, and we get our first time loops going on. And, we start to see kind of Phil unravel. And I love how Andreas referred to him as Phil Collins when it's Phil Connors, his name in the film.
I'm sorry.
And I didn't realize he's a drummer from Genesis or a solo artist. But anyways,
he does play piano, Cyber. I'm just saying.
He does play piano.
That's true.
Yeah, that's as we get later on the film.
And he can walk.
Yes, that is true. But yeah,
you never know who might be looking on.
Exactly, yeah. But we really start to get into this film here, and it's so much fun because we get to see him going am I having deja vu here? Didn't I already do this? With the guy in the hallway, him, grabbing him and pushing up against the thing, saying, "Are you messing with me?" And he's like, "No, it's Groundhog Day." And then him and Angela Patton, who is the bed and breakfast owner, who was a great character actress. I always loved her in anything I ever saw her, and she was always funny. She actually passed away a few years ago, but she was a great actress. And I love how she always played those dingbat type of characters where she's just kind of clueless, and it's absolutely hilarious, and she does a great job. And I love how, if you notice from the first deja vu to the second deja vu that we see, and occurring in the sequence, he goes from 100% to 80%. So I'm thinking about something wow, it went 20% down in between both of those occurrences, and I was kind of cracking them. Was there other variances there that we didn't get to see, or that they decided not to shoot? I'm very curious about that. And from my understanding, a lot of the script was presented by the one gentleman that we mentioned earlier that was a writer along with Harold Ramis. But this film actually went through several rewrites as they were filming. And because of Bill Murray's ongoing real-life battle at the time with his divorce from his wife at the time, he basically became very irritable while he was filming this, because it was also 20 degrees every day that they were filming this for 12 hours a day. So that, including a divorce, can make somebody very irritable. So he was always kind of impacting what Ramis was trying to do, and he was giving him a hard time throughout this whole process. So I think that you could see that there's probably other takes between, I feel, that they wanted to, because I remember the writer, the guy that came up with the original initial story in the 90s or early 90s, he said that there was actually several different versions of what they wanted to do with the time loop stuff. And I thought that was kind of interesting, that how it kind of bows that way in how the film actually ends up, where he goes from 100 to 80%. So I'm curious if there was other stuff in between. So I wonder if that was a part of, kind of the ongoing rewrites. But I think that this whole section too is fun because you get to see him kind of slowly start to realize he's losing his mind, kind of, and especially with him jumping in the shower and freezing his balls off, as Joey had mentioned, and getting little raisins, unfortunately. And you see that, and he's like, isn't there any hot water? He's like, not on a day like this. And you're just kind of thinking to yourself, I'm like, this is supposed to be a bed and breakfast. There's no hot water. This is not a place I would want to stay at. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm supposed to be this high shot, hotshot guy that's a weatherman. I should be getting a real luxury here. And so I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, oh yeah, why not? Yeah, no weather, yeah. But
not today.
not today. And I love it, like where he basically kind of like as the progression goes on, especially when he like the first day meeting Ned Ryerson, like, you don't remember me, do you? And stuff like that. And he's like, no, I don't remember you going out with my sister and all that kind of stuff, the belly button thing and all this kind of stuff. And then the second date, he's like Ned Ryerson. And like how he's doing that, I think was done really well. Like Bill Murray did a great job of making it seem like this is really like deja vu going on here. And, and it's just kind of funny. And at both days, of course, he steps in the puddle and everything. And you're just kind of like, what a doozy. And you're just kind of like, oh, okay, like that. I've done that. I've stepped in puddles like that before. It is not pleasant. So I feel for Bill Murray in that scene. But I think that this whole portion really sets you up for how things are going to go on from here on into the film, giving you a good idea of kind of like you're stuck in this time loop. And we have all these little kind of pinpoints, like everyone's kind of mentioned, with the clock at the diner stopping at a certain time, stuff like that. And I thought it was kind of interesting that throughout the film, there's exactly 15 scenes that show the clock go from 5:59 to 6 a.m. throughout the film. But also, as somebody had mentioned, the 12:01 thing, we also had a few other scenes throughout the film that actually showed the clock at different times, such as like 4:04, 4:05, and then there was a couple other scenes that were later on in the daytime, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, let's not forget the point where Andie MacDowell later on in the movie looks at the clock and it was midnight and he's still there.
Yep.
So yeah, there are other times where we do see the clock is a different time.
Correct. So yeah, I think that this, the first time loops are fantastic. We getting up to the point where he's going to do his first confiding into, Rita, but at the same time, just like this really starts to get you into kind of the process of like, oh crap, he's dealing with something serious here. And it really starts to get you thinking and really makes the film, gives you, like I said before, gets you an idea of what the rest of the film is going to be like.
Right.
Well, I think the seriousness of that too, as you point out, it basically, they follow the death and dying thing where, if we watch this film, it starts off with him in denial, and then he gets angry, and then we're going to see him bargain, and then he's going to get depressed, and then he's going to accept. So it follows those 5 stages of death and dying, which, kind of gives us that seriousness or, kind of the how much of an impact this is going to have on him as it goes along.
Wow, Tim, I didn't even think about that. That's a pointer right there. So, yeah, all right. I'll give you a point for that. Not bad.
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen. Well, before we go into the next act, we are now sitting at Andres with 1 point. Tim, you now have 5. Cyber, you also have 5. And Joey, you have a solid second place at 4. So, congratulations, guys. Let's move on down and find out a little more of what happens to Phil and Rita. So, of course, we know that Phil confides his situation to Rita, who turns out to throw in the old producer card and finds him a neurologist to see if there is something wrong with him mentally. And of course, the neurologist sees that there's nothing wrong with him, so he sends him to a psychologist. And the psychologist is this young 20-something kid who has no idea what he's doing. He was just happy to talk to somebody. And so Phil's like, okay, well, you're not going to help me. So then Phil decides to go get drunk with some of the locals, Gus and Ralph. And then he realizes that with the situation that he's in, there's no consequences. So he leads the police on a high-speed chase where we get an interesting order for a meal and some flapjacks. And then, of course, Phil is taken into custody. And then he wakes the next morning at the Cherry Street Inn once again. And this thoroughly rivets to him that no matter what he does, he has no consequences. So he spends the next couple of loops just doing some pretty shady stuff. I mean, he begins to spend loops indulging in binge eating, one-night stands, robbery, and other dangerous activities. I mean, using his increasing knowledge of the day's events and the town's residents to manipulate circumstances to his advantage, which I think just kind of thoroughly brings him more into the whole bad guy category. Eventually, he does focus on seducing the sweet-natured Rita, because he realizes that as he kind of has a fondness for her. And so he uses the loops to learn a little more about Rita and how to manipulate her. And of course, he does manage to get pretty far in it, but Rita eventually rebuffs his advances, and Phil is then completely shut down. And we then gradually see him become more depressed, desperate for a way to escape the loop. He finally decides to start committing suicide in various ways. And honestly, I think some of those ways were pretty clever. Like, for example, the toaster in the bathtub. But before I delve further into all of that, I'd just like to know what you guys thought of this whole de-evolution of the character. How Phil goes from this wanton guy who gets away with stuff to being totally depressed and sitting in front of Jeopardy knowing all the answers. And I'll go over to you first, Cyber. What do you think of Phil's decline here? Did we lose Cyber?
I'm back.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. Where was the ending point that
we're talking about? Basically, all the way up to where he starts to commit suicide. His complete decline from being someone who's taking advantage of the locals, taking advantage of Rita, learning more about her, and then eventually realizing that he's just stuck. He can't get out, and he decides to start committing suicide in different ways. He kidnaps Punxsutawney Phil. He's dropping toasters in the bathtub. I mean, he is completely down and out, depressed.
All right, so this is a good chunk of the film, which is really fun. I mean, this whole section is just like literally, like you said, he goes from taking advantage to basically trying to kill himself, and we get kind of these happy moments, and then we get these low moments, and all of it is very, I thought, very entertaining, very enjoyable, and really gives you a good kind of all around, kind of like as Tim was mentioning, the rounds of grief. And it starts off really great. We have him with Rick DuPont and the other gentleman at that bowling alley having drinks. He's like, I had another day. I was on the beach. I was drinking pina coladas. Had a shrimp dinner. Then we made sweet love, like sea otters. Why can't I live that day over and over again? And basically, we have the start of him realizing that there's no consequences to what he's happened, and we have him driving the car, and they go crazy, and they get caught by the cops. And then the next morning, he wakes up and he's in his bed at the inn. He's like, "Ooh, I could use this to my advantage." And so that's when we see him start to try to get with Nancy. And he starts learning little things about Nancy over and over again to basically woo her and get her. But as he's doing that, we see him calling her Rita, kind of pinpointing to the fact that he's actually really in love with Rita. And we see him with other women too throughout the things, like when they go to the movie theaters to see the John Wayne film, and he's like, "I told you to call me Bronco." And it's like you see him doing this throughout the whole entire film. Eventually, by this point, when he's about to start to try to woo Rita, we have him basically starting to tinker with the car to make it not work and stuff like that, so he can work on her, learning about the sweet vermouth with the rocks and a twist. Her and her, what she did before becoming a producer, going to, school for fine literature, art. He kind of makes fun of that a little bit, and he learns these little things. We also have him learn how to steal money at this point in the film, where he's like, a gust of wind. Felix. Oh, Felix. Hi, Doris. Yes, you can have a quarter, Doris. And, he basically knows exactly what's going to happen, drops the quarters, and then steals the bag of money. And basically we have him kind of, using that money throughout the thing, which I was kind of cracked up at that, because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's a weatherman and he acts like he's super rich. So why the hell did he need that money? I'll never know. But okay, if you need that money, good for you, Phil. And at this point too, we have several scenes where, like right after he has decided he's immortal, he's a god. He kind of starts to confide more in Rita and stuff like that, and that's kind of where he gets the idea of doing that and stuff like that. But I love the scene where he's eating all the food at the diner and he's like literally shoves the whole donut in his mouth and shit like that, and it's absolutely freaking hilarious. And she's like, "Don't you worry about cholesterol, fat, or anything like that?" It's like, I don't worry about anything anymore. And you're just kind of like, that kind of sounds like guys to begin with. So I mean, kind of works, but it's super funny, and I just think that Bill Murray did that scene to the T. And throughout the whole entire film, you're always kind of seeing people in the background, like Rick Dumont is in that scene, and we see him in other scenes when they're at the diner and stuff like that. And it's always funny to see these people are kind of in the background in several of the scenes, which make it fun. But him basically leaving him to where he's tried with Rita, it's not being successful. He's learning all these things about her and stuff like that, and basically takes him to ultimately trying to kill himself. And we see him try to kill himself several different ways, throwing a toaster in the bathtub with himself, jumping off the top of a steeple, getting hit by a bus. I mean, all these different things. And you're at the same time as you're kind of like feeling like this is kind of like a sad moment, at the same time, you can't help but laugh because he still does it comically as he's trying to kill himself. So you kind of like go, oh, this is supposed to be a sad moment, but at the same time, I'm kind of laughing because of how like he's portraying trying to kill himself. And it really does play out those terms of grief like Tim mentioned before, and I think it's played out really well. And even though this film went through so many different rewrites as they were filming it, I still think the story played out beautifully. I would have never guessed this was rewritten several different times over the course of the filming. It really always played out very well. So I think this is a really great section. A lot of it is super funny. And just lots of great fun, and you get to see a lot of the great time loops that just really show the brilliance of Bill Murray as well, along with the other actors and actresses that were involved in these sequences too. I mean, Andie MacDowell was fantastic, and all the scenes that they're repeating about the sweet vermouth and the dinner scene, stuff like that. And I just think that it's just a really fun treasure trove of fun going on in these sequences.
All right, yeah, I agree with you, Cyber. It was a fun sequence. I mean, this is kind of like the meat and potatoes of what a character would do in this film. And I think that's what I'm going to spin it over to the rest of you guys. Is what part do you find the most fun in the time loops? And I'll throw it over to you first, Andreas. What was some of the fun parts of this particular time loop did you like?
Oh man, that is tough. I think I laughed the hardest about this is when he's stealing the money, and then he apparently spent it all in a car, and then dressed up as a cowboy is the most hilarious thing ever. And he forced his one stand lady to dress up as well, and he's calling himself Blanco. And then of course when he sees Nancy, the other one stand that he kind of seduced in the time loops, he's like, "Hello, Nancy," and like she's like freaked out. I was like, "Who the hell is this person?" I'm like, "I'm running out of here," and he's like, "Oh, bad ex-fiance." Like it's like a Clint Eastwood character. It's like so funny. I was like, wow. And him being criminal is really cool. Like he could easily be the best criminal ever all time. Just he knew how to like calculate the time when the bank, the carriers were coming, and then you see Doris, the waitress, fixing her, brows, whatever. It was like telling out loud, and then counting, and then he kind of like car, and then coins, and then like he gets the bag, and then this is where you don't trust your police officers, and it's like this one guy is like, Larry, did we have one bag or two? And it's like, I don't know. And it's like, what? Like, Phil is so lucky to have a time loop and also have incompetent bank carriers to like not remember how many bags they had full of cash. So I love that part. That it's one of the most funniest things. And just the next lead up is him becoming a cowboy and going to the movie theater with a hot chick with the stencil, butler kind of dress. So yeah, that's my favorite part about that time loop.
Gotcha. How about you, Tim? What did you like best about this whole meat and potatoes section?
There's just so much, man. I mean, and they've hit some of the good ones. I mean, we get an Ocean 11 scene with the whole, robbery of the armored car. We get to see Bill Murray as basically Clint Eastwood. I mean, that's who he is. He realizes, look, I can just do whatever I want. And so we've missed some scenes in here. There's some deleted scenes, which I think the difference between this and later in the film is that right now he's going to do a lot of like self-centered things for himself to see if he can get away with it or to better himself in selfish ways. I think some of the cut scenes that we don't get to see is like he becomes like basically a trick pool shark, and we get to see him cutting off the heads off of the sculptures, and I think there's some scenes where he's predicting point spreads for sports things, and he spends time seducing women of the town, and then he spends some ill-fated times trying to seduce Rita, which is one big slap fest after another, which, we all enjoy too, because it's like, it goes very well in the beginning, and it's just, we get a lot of slaps that, it just keeps failing. He gives up on that. And, and then we see him in that bowling alley. And one of the scenes I believe it got filmed, or at least it was talked about in one of the scripts, was that he's depressed and sitting with those guys drinking because he just like perfected bowling. He just bowled a perfect 300 game, and he's just depressed about it because there's no one to show this ability to. So he's kind of commiserating with these guys, and and he's starting to get depressed now because the newness of being able to do these shenanigans is starting to finally wear off with him. And so what does he do? The first thing he's like, gets those guys out there. He's like, maybe I should drive. And he goes basically tearing through town with that car, with those guys in the car with them. And he's like, we're going to drive on the tracks because they tell us never to do that. So now he's starting to need the adrenaline hits, like what can I do to take this to the next level, and getting chased by the police through the town and trying to beat a train. And I think those cops make it. Like we never see that cop car come off like they do, but then he heads into town and he crashes a car and stuff and ends up jail, wakes up. And then even that bit of high is starting to wear off. And now he's going to start getting depressed. And, we're going to start seeing him do things like grabbing the toaster and dropping it in the tub, jumping from the building. And he talks about others later on. He's like, I've been poisoned, I've been shot, I've been stabbed. So, he's up to shenanigans because we only really get to see like 38 days of his life throughout this movie. And I guess originally the author who wrote this was like, I expected it to be like 10,000 days, or 10,000 years, I think it was, as what he thought this time loop was going to be. And then he kind of brought that back and said, I believe that Phil was in this loop for like 10 years. So a lot happens in 10 years, and you can do a lot of shenanigans, and you can learn a lot of crazy, weird skills. And that's a lot of depression. So you probably have died in almost every manner. And what I appreciate the most about the film is even though they kind of do a little bit of that, getting into the depression and him kind of, committing suicide and doing things like that, they could have gotten so much darker with this. And I think there was talk about doing that, like, I'm sure they could have gone into him like torturing people or raping people or, committing heinous crimes and things like that. And they don't go there with it. They keep it kind of light for the most part. And I'm glad that they did, because I think that would have wrecked it if they would have just went too far in the dark side. The toaster was just enough where you're like, oh, that's a little dark, but still kind of funny with the way he portrays it. And maybe the jumping off the building, but that's where they ended it. And I think that was just the perfect amount to show the distress of the character and the depression without going overboard on that or showing it just like the total descent into madness before he finally kind of comes back out of it again into the acceptance phase. So, but there was just a lot of fun stuff in here to watch. I mean, a whole lot. And I wish they would have done so much more with it, but then again, it might have wrecked the movie. It might have made it too long or just done too much. But when you start to think about the shenanigans that this guy probably did for so long, and just the Ocean's 11 armored car bank robbery. He did all kinds of crazy stuff like that, bank robberies, just all kinds of silly stuff. So it's just fun to sit and think about.
Yeah, especially when he's trying to manipulate Rita, and you realize how often or how many times he's done this. To get through the whole day, it's like everything else he's done, he had to have done several different times. So you definitely get the feeling. They don't explain it, but you definitely get the feeling that he's been in this loop for a very long time. How about you, Joey? Is there any particular sequence or time loop that you liked in this area?
It's tough to say, because the whole movie's about repeating the same scenes again and again. And it's neat how they filmed it. So anything where they had a lot of extras, where it was outdoors in particular, they needed the same lighting. They shot every loop in a row. Going back to Ned Ryerson, eventually he turns the tables on Ned, holds Ned too long, and makes Ned feel uncomfortable and want to leave. The last line where he's really caressing him and holding him in tight was improvised, where he says, "I don't know what you're doing later, but call in sick, please."
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite. And he had to tell Bill Murray, it's like, okay, everything in this scene is changing or staying the same, but you're gonna change because it's now you're doing it again. And so he had to play it differently. I mean, Ned gets to react to him, but he's still the same Ned the same day. And it's Bill Murray who's changing each time they did a take. And doing those scenes had to feel a bit like Groundhog Day.
Right.
It's like, okay, we got to do so many takes of like this day, and then loop 2, and then loop 3, and then we're doing a loop that's like in the far, far-reaching future. And I'm sure that it created a special kind of continuity with, you shoot to edit, but at the same time, it's like you've only got these people; they're all gonna, hit their marks and stuff and do everything the same. There's no going back. We're shooting all the sequences with Ned right now. And then what was the only other part they did with him was at the dance later. I mean, so he was in a different outfit and he probably was, a different day or something like that. But other than that, that's probably that actor's whole day was just with Bill Murray doing the different times he met him on the sidewalk.
Right. Okay, well, that brings us to our next section of quiz. So you guys ready to earn some points here? All right. So the exteriors of the Cherry Street Inn was shot in which small town in Illinois?
Oh.
It's the same name of another much more famous town for having a certain 1969 music festival.
Woodstock.
It's Woodstock, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep. Woodstock, Illinois. And
I've probably driven past it and thought about the music festival and didn't think about Gobbler's Knob. So it's north. It's like 50 miles northeast of or northwest or some shit of Chicago. So like if you start talking north of Chicago, you're talking about practically in another state.
Yeah.
But I think there's all kinds of tributes throughout that town for him, too. Like, there's a place where he keeps stepping into the puddle where they have a plaque that says Bill Murray stepped here. And there's another one that says Ned's Corner because that's where Ned kept getting accosted. So they've capitalized on that greatly.
Oh, the diner. Actually, something I want to bring up. The diner, we see it, but that was actually full built for the movie. It wasn't really there in the town. And ever since the movie became, a huge pop culture phenomena, it's still there if you go to that town where they shot the film, the Tip Top Diner. So
nice.
That was something that I didn't know when I was doing my notes.
It's a Mexican restaurant now. last
Yeah.
I think I read
Yeah,
that.
I was like, yeah. You know what? How about this, guys? I'm gonna pay all your tickets. We should go road trip, go to the town, have some Mexican food. All right? How about that? All in.
Yeah, I want to
No.
recreate all the diner scenes in Spanish.
Oh my god,
But
that's
Joey,
so perfect.
Joey gets to stuff his face full of donuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I tell you
Joey
what,
Bag
I
of
Andre,
actually
donuts.
swallow. I'm not spitting between takes. I'm not a spitter. Spitters are quitters.
And neither was Bill Murray. He actually ate that stuff. It made him sick as a dog. He did.
Ugh.
Yeah.
well, I tell you what, Andreas, I'll give you a point for throwing in the diner there. So
Yes.
Tim will get a point for answering the question, and Joey, I'll give you a point for giving a little hand there and an extra hint. All right, so
Not thanks for the handy.
yeah. All right.
He did it before I did.
Here's a deep cut for you guys. The actor who plays Gus has a small role in another holiday film playing a character named Walt. What is that holiday film?
I don't think he plays Walt. He plays the Walt in the Burbs. I don't know what his name is in Die Hard.
Yes, it is Die Hard, and yes, he does play Walt, a city worker. He's credited as Walt.
You know what? I think it's a different character, maybe named Walt in Burbs. But that name gets thrown around in
No,
Burbs.
it's art. No, the
it's
birds.
art.
It's art. No.
Who's Walter? Is that the neighbor who disappears then?
Yes,
dogs?
yeah. That's.
Oh wow,
yeah,
what
the
a
neighbors.
coincidence!
So is he the guy that's in the manhole who's like, if I cut the power, it's going to cut the power of the entire town or whatever?
Yep.
On
Okay.
Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
that's him. He's Canadian. He passed away.
2015, diabetes.
I think one of his last big roles that people saw him in was Scary Movie, and he was pretty great in that.
Yep, as the father of Anna Faris.
Yeah, it wasn't Scary Movie 2, Tim, with Mr. Chris Elliott. Yeah, Scary Movie 1, where he says, "Remember."
here. Just we can just touch you a little bit like this.
strong hand.
I would have liked to seen those two characters come together. He was the one where he's telling his daughter, he goes, "Remember." He says, "You cut the crack with baking soda, not baking powder."
Well, speaking of inappropriate things, I've got an inappropriate question for you guys. Other than I Got You, Babe, what was Sonny Bono's biggest hit in the late 1990s?
A tree.
That is correct, sir.
Damn
was
it.
a tree.
I was going to say the same damn thing. That was a big hit.
Andreas, he skied
Nobody
into a
was
tree and
happy
killed
about
himself.
it. But good Lord.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he was. Was he? I think he was Mayor Sonny Bono at that point.
he
He
was-
was going down the mountain and he hit a tree.
Senator.
Like
He was
oh,
senator.
Senator
That's right,
Bono.
Senator.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, hit it like Wile E. Coyote and killed himself.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so awful that his ex-wife was mourning him.
And she called him an asshole on Letterman. No, I'm sorry. She called Letterman an asshole because he tricked her into coming on when Sonny was there because she disliked him so much.
All right, last question for this round of points. How many movies has Brian Doyle Murray appeared in with his brother Bill?
4.
Nope.
8.
Nope.
Hold on.
Is it higher or lower?
Cyber's
It is-
just smiling because he knows. Look at him.
It is.
Oh my God.
It is higher than 4, but lower than 8.
6?
Nope. Cyber?
I like
do
when you
not know.
10,000 bowls of colon blow to equal 1 bowl.
I like when you ask these questions when Cyber's got his mouth full of food he can't answer. We all have a chance.
6.
The answer is 5.
Oh, I was so close.
Yeah.
What? All right, name the movies. I'm curious because I count.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sure
on.
some of them are cameos.
Yeah, that was the thing
Um,
because he has a cameo in Ghostbusters too.
It's
Damn.
got to be. Well, I don't remember what he played in. No, he played his father in Scrooge,
All right, so you got
and then his younger
Caddyshack.
brother played his younger brother in that one.
I said
Go ahead.
you got Caddyshack.
Okay,
You've got the Razor's Edge, Scrooged, Ghostbusters 2, and Groundhog Day.
I think you get a point, Andres, for stumping the stumper.
what was he in Ghostbusters 2?
He was the psychiatrist. You know when all the Ghostbusters were admitted to the psych ward? He's the doctor that's talking to them. And then Bill say, I don't know these people. It's such a funny scene in Ghostbusters.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back at Pediad.
But no.
Yeah. I didn't know about Razor Edge. That one, I was like, oh.
Trying to do a dramatic role. And
Yeah,
I don't think we know about it because I don't think it was necessarily very good.
Yeah, it was Bill Murray trying to be dramatic before Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
So,
or Rushmore, or no.
He wouldn't try to be dramatic again for 19 more years.
Yeah.
It was so bad
until Zombieland.
Zombieland.
It was
All
a
right.
tearful death.
Well, that brings our point count to Andreas. You're sitting at 2. Tim, you are firmly at 6. Cyber, you're down at 5, buddy, and Joey's got Tim tied for first place at 6 as well. So, moving on, we've got our good buddy Phil Connors. He eventually tries to explain his situation to Rita again, using his detailed knowledge of the day to accurately predict events, convinced Rita to spend the rest of the day with him in his loop, and she encourages him to think of the loops as a blessing instead of a curse. As they lie together in bed that night, Phil realizes that his feelings for Rita have become sincere. He wakes alone on February 2nd. Phil decides to use his knowledge of the loop to change himself and others for the better. He saves people from deadly accidents and misfortunes. He learns to play the piano, sculpt ice, and speak French. Regardless of his positive actions, however, he is unable to prevent a homeless old man from dying of natural causes. Then, of course, during one iteration of the loop, Phil reports on Groundhog Day festivities with such eloquence that other news crews stop working to listen to his speech and amazes Rita. Phil continues his day helping the people of Punxsutawney. That's right. Rita witnesses Phil's expert piano playing as the adoring townsfolk regale her with stories of his good deeds earlier that day. Impressed by his apparent overnight transformation, Rita successfully bids for him at a charity bachelor auction. Phil carves an ice sculpture of Rita's image and tells her that no matter what happens, if he is ever trapped in a loop forever, he is finally happy because he loves her. They share a kiss and retire to Phil's room. All right, gentlemen. This is basically leading up towards the end of the film. And we've now seen the hero's journey as he goes from a rapscallion to a depressed gentleman to someone who's now becoming a hero of the film. And what did you guys think of Phil's transformation? And I'm gonna throw it over to you first, Tim. What was your thoughts seeing Phil become this very heroic looking guy in the town of Punxsutawney?
I think we have to back up one step, man. We
All right.
missed one of the most pivotal scenes of the whole show. We have not talked about him trying to kill the groundhog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk about this. I think
That's his first suicide.
Is that the first one technically? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we kind of missed it in the last scene, but all right. I'd like to change my answer from the last round then, and I'd like to make my favorite scene the groundhog death scene.
Okay.
Because I don't know how we talk about all the rest and not talk about that. I thought we were kind of right up against that, but yeah, you're right, Joey. It was the first one, but I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, just that whole scene where he decides the groundhog is the cause of all his pain, so he kidnaps this thing and he takes it and he's gonna kill it. He grabs it, jumps into that truck and drives. And the scenes, with him in there are just hilarious with the groundhog as they're going along and everything. It brings one of the best lines, the "Don't drive angry" line, which is super hilarious because what people don't know is right after that, because that groundhog was trying to get over that steering wheel, so he improvises that groundhog actually bites him for real, and he had to go get like rabies shots and stuff because of it. So yeah, it was horrible
it bit
for
him
him.
Through the leather glove and took a chunk out, according to Harold Ramis.
Yeah,
they had to send him to the clinic.
Yeah. So, but I love that. I mean, I love that line, which I think probably inspires the later Nicolas Cage movie, Drive Angry kind of thing. And then what does this do too? This lends us to the only sequel to this movie. Does anybody remember the sequel?
Is it the commercial they did like in 2020?
Yes.
I know you were
2020.
Yeah, a Honda. What was it? Not Honda, but like
Jeep Rubicon.
Jeep Rubicon. Yeah.
Yeah, he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, not again!" And he comes out, he's like, "No, oh no!" He's kind of like seeing all the stuff. He's like, "Oh," and he sees that groundhog and it's on the truck, and he's like, starts coming at it again, and then he looks over and he sees that, and he's like, "Well, that's new." And there's the Jeep Rubicon waiting. And so, he puts, grabs the groundhog and jumps in the Jeep Rubicon, and they drive around. And he has such a good time that him and the groundhog became best friends. And he wakes up over and over again, super excited, and relives this day over and over with the groundhog. He's got like a little papoose he carries him in. They go skiing together. They're driving all over the place. They're taunting townspeople. They're just having a great old time. It was brilliant. I don't know what Jeep paid for that, but brilliant, 100%. The most brilliant commercial ever made.
It was the best one. And by the way, Matt, you had to revise how many
had to be a Super Bowl.
Brian, his brother came because his brother cameo in that commercial as well. So that's 6. That was I was including that one. I was like, because that commercial, he's there briefly. But
he's got you. It's 6.
All right.
Oh, it's 6 in the commercial. And the only known sequel. So
yeah, the known sequel.
Oh, wait.
Oh my God, he's watching.
How many movies, not commercials?
You said it was the sequel.
Oh yeah, it's a
short
film.
definition.
It's a short film.
Okay, all right. I'll allow it.
Well, there's the commercial, and then there's the extended version that they played at the Super Bowl. So,
all right. I will acquiesce to his demands.
It's sad that that's not on any of the home video releases.
Yeah, but you can find it on YouTube. So anybody who's interested, go out, type that in Jeep Groundhog Day commercial, and you'll get to watch that in its entirety. So it's well worth your time.
Maybe I'll link this episode to a commercial to that commercial somewhere on YouTube.
So does anybody else want to throw down on the whole groundhog scene, or should we move forward now to Matt's questions? I will yield the floor before I journey in.
I mean, I agree with you, Tim, about the tone. I think it's good that it's not this dark, rated R kind of film. So I think because it makes those suicides like comedically dark. Like my personal favorite of those suicides, by the way, I don't condone suicide, but they're comedically dark, is when he jumped off the tower, and I always laugh so hard on that because when Rhea and Larry had to confirm his death, like that's like Phil, Rhea lays her head to Larry, and he's like, he's a really nice guy. I really, really like him.
really liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was just trying to say the right thing because she's like a mess.
A mess, exactly. So I thought that was very funny. It's crazy. No, that's all I had to say because I love that scene. It's so hilarious.
He might have been saying that because he was a public figure too, and he wants the people at the hospital to think he was a real nice guy because he's going to have like a really public, committed suicide death.
Right.
He's defending the news station in a way. So really, really great guy.
Well, how about you, Joey? Is there anything in the end sequence when he starts helping out people in the town that really stands out to you?
Oh, all of them. But we only see it once, and he's almost forgotten about it, and he's almost run out of time to catch the kid falling from the tree.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Not once have you said thank you. I'll see you tomorrow." Maybe.
Yeah, that was kind of clever.
And then they insinuate he hurt his back too.
Yeah,
well, it's like he had to dive for him.
He's a 12-year-old. He was probably a 12, 13-year-old kid. He probably weighed about a good 150 pounds.
He weighed less than 100, but he fell 10 feet. So
yeah,
I don't know what the physics are on that, but it's probably like catching something that's 200 pounds.
How about you, Cyber? Any thoughts on the end sequence before we wrap up the movie?
I'm surprised nobody's mentioned the whole helping of the old vagrant guy sequence where he's trying to help that old guy that was the change guy at the beginning of the film. When he tries to help them out, and he does it several times. We see him trying to save him, and basically we end up seeing him like take him to the diner, getting him hot food, get him a new coat and stuff like that. And I think that was kind of showing kind of the evolution of Phil's character and showing how he's become not the the angry person he was, or the selfish person he was. He's now starting to show that he can care. He can think about other people other than himself. And we get that great sequence there that kind of shows that. That leads into that great homage of him helping all the people across the town, helping the old ladies in the car with the car jack and putting the tire on for them, and getting life insurance from Ned and all that kind of stuff. He's like, I haven't seen this guy in years, and next thing he's buying life insurance, house insurance, all these things. Wahoo! And just that's such a great scene. And then as like Rita starts seeing this, and she's like, what the hell is going on kind of deal here. And you just kind of like you're seeing a complete evolution and change of Phil's character, and it just really kind of shows you like the purpose of the time loop was to help Phil basically fix what was wrong with him, like help him realize how he is and how he's going in life is not going to get him to where he should be. Kind of similar with Scrooge, with the ghost showing him his his future, his past, and his present. Kind of same similar type of thing. This time loop was to help him realize kind of what was wrong and like why people thought the way they did about him, and kind of how he was thinking about things to help fix him. So I think this sequence is really good in showing just how the story develops and how Phil changes, but at the same time it gives you a great lesson in how to be humble and how to show how to be in life. So I think that they do a really good job.
Nice. Well,
if I can throw in on top of what Cyber said there too, kind of talking about the Scrooge thing, it doesn't only just hit that kind of, Scrooge Christmas story, but we get a Wonderful Life moment here too. And I don't know if any of you guys caught it, but I distinctly seen it. There's that moment towards the very end when he's out there with Rita and they're having that moment outside, and they've kind of had that great day, and he realizes, like it's just not going to get any better than this. And they're outside kind of, talking and stuff. And it does exactly what it does in with George Bailey on that bridge when he, drops to his knees and prays to God and asks for him to, give him his life back.
Starts snowing again.
When he has that moment where he realizes he really loves her and she really loves him, it starts to snow, and you see Bill Murray look around. It's very subtle, but you realize the loop has been broken right there. That is the point where it is officially broken, even though we haven't seen them back at the room or anything like that. They haven't spent the whole night in bed and woken up together or anything, but we have, just that snowfall, and there's an acknowledgement by the character that this is different, but he just keeps moving forward with it, not thinking much of it. So I thought that was a really nice, subtle touch to the end of the film.
Interesting. I didn't even catch that with the snowfall. So, well, Cyber, I was about to give you a point for the fact that you've pointed out his change in his character and how he moves from selfishness to selflessness. And then Tim, I'm going to give you a point as well for pointing out the connection to a previous episode we did on It's a Wonderful Life. So, way to go, guys. Anyone else have any other points of interest that they want to discuss on this part of the film before we wrap up the movie?
No, I think the old man. I didn't know where we were at this movie at this point, but I always loved that part of the him helping the old man, because that's where he truly became a no more a self-serving person, more of a less person, caring more about the person. That first time when he took him to the hospital, that always kills me. When he say, he just, I think they're saying he passed, and he like just barged in and then opened up the curtain and it just stayed silent. It's just so powerful. We were speaking, Bill Murray and doing dramatic roles. Some of these movies, like when he does a dramatic role, he's so good at it. And this movie was such the perfect, movie where you see his comedic chops, but also his dramatic drop as well, so well. Like in this last section, you see him being very dramatic and very sincere. The way he talks to Rhea, confessing his love. That you're the most, what was it, like kindness, the most freest person I ever met. And I always, I think you're the kindest, sweetest, freest person I've ever met in my life. I never see anyone that's nicer to people than you are. And the first time I saw you, something happened to me. And I always get kind of a little choke a little bit because it's like, like such a great line when you say that. And that's where he truly started to slowly, become a better person after spending a more honest time with Rhea, So, but also I want to bring out also going back to the funny part, when every time he failed to seduce Rhea, I always loved the slap at his face montage. It's so funny. Like every time he's like, stop it. It's like, oh, I always get not tired of the slap montage. It's so great. But yeah, I think this last section is so powerful. And I agree with Cyber. It totally pushed forward, Phil's arc into a better man. And I think it really works here. And, speaking of Scrooge, I mean, if you didn't like his Scrooge from 1988, which is a great classic film, I think Groundhog Day is a much superior version of the selfless person turning into a better person arc. And in such a unique way, but also using still the old tropes that we've seen from the Christmas Carol and all the versions we've seen, and as Tim brought up, It's a Wonderful Life as well. So I think that's the one thing that this movie does so much better than his version of Scrooge. If you didn't like the main sphere stuff that they did there, so.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that brings us then to our third quiz portion of our episode. And of course, I have a question here that has already been addressed. I just want to briefly mention that, as you guys said before, Michael Shannon shows up in the movie, which he later on becomes General Zod in the Superman movies. And, we see a young Michael Shannon here at the end of the movie where he gets his WrestleMania tickets. I believe Andreas might have a little comment that he might want to add to that.
Yes, actually, the wife or the fiance that he's going to marry, Honda Welch, she's also another DC actress. She's the voice of Starfire in the Teen Titans franchise. If you're like me, who grew up in the 2000s, she voiced Starfire. So it's very funny that we got two DC people being a couple before they became these major characters. I just want to bring that up. It's just
all
funny,
right.
Andreas,
what?
Let's go.
Yes, Teen Titans, go! Yeah,
all
and
right.
I love
well,
Starfire.
Andreas, the geek in me is going to give you a point for that. So, congratulations. You just got yourself another point.
Hallelujah.
Right, so,
thank you, God. Thank you so
Andreas,
much.
That brings you up to 4. Tim, you're at 6. Cyber, you're at 5. Joey, you're at 6. All right, guys, we got 3 more questions here. So, this Dallas resident turned actor appeared in a band with a famous guitarist, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Who was that actor?
Say that question again.
This Dallas resident turned actor appeared in a band with the famous guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan. Who was that actor?
Man, you stumped me.
He's in this movie.
Bill Murray?
Nope.
No. Hold on. Who is he? Is it
Ken Hudson Campbell? No,
nope.
no. Tom Malkovich?
No.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Do 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 do.
I think of
See.
Oh,
All
speaking of which, I love the scene where he's watching Jeopardy and knows all the answers.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's also my favorite one. It's like the pity caca, and like everyone claps after that. He's like, and he drinks rum.
Yeah, straight out of the bottle, yeah. The answer to the question is actually Needle Nose Ned. He is from Dallas, and he was in a band. He played drums, and he was in a band with Stevie Ray Vaughan back when Stevie was first starting off. So
I would never guessed that one in a million years.
all right, so this is the final film that Harold Ramis and Bill Murray worked together. How many films did they create together?
7?
Nope.
5?
4?
It is not 4. It is not 5.
Hold on. Oh my God. Now this is
Ramis I think he maybe only co-wrote Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
I think it's 3.
Stripes.
Yeah,
not
Stripes,
3.
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack,
This
and
movie.
Groundhog
6.
Day.
Stripes.
It is 6.
I was waiting for Cyber to say 6, and he didn't, so I
What
to
is the
throw
other
in
2?
again.
All right.
I
Tim will
was
get the
thinking this
point.
was the 7th, but this was the 6th
No,
one. Okay.
it was 6. All right. What other film features Andie MacDowell in the role as part of a news team?
What's it? No, not Speechless. That's another movie I'm thinking about.
I'll give you a hint. It's also a supernatural film.
Michael?
That is correct, Andreas. It is
Yes.
Michael.
I was like, I knew she was a Porter and Michael, John Travolta. Because
Yep.
John Travolta was also considered for the role of Phil here in this movie. I forgot to mention.
Oh, what a horrible choice that would have been.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
All right, so that now brings us to the end of the film. And of course, Phil wakes up the next morning to "I Got You, Babe," but finds Rita is still in bed with him, and the radio banter has changed. It is now February 3rd. He tells Rita he wants to live in Punxsutawney with her, and we end the film there with this very lovely sequence where the two have fallen in love. So I really don't have any final questions for this. Just kind of your general thoughts, men, of the movie before we even go into the death clock. Just tell me what you thought of the film itself as a whole. And I'll go to you first, Cyber.
The ending is fantastic, and I think that it's a great ending to a very up and down film that starts off really heavy, gets a little lighthearted, gets heavy again, and then really gets, a great climactic ending. So overall, the whole film itself is just so well done. And I just love the whole concept of the whole time loop thing. And it just was such a really well done film. And I thought everyone did a great job in it. I loved every single second of it. It never felt slow in any parts. It kept you entertained the whole time. And even in its sad moments, it still was funny and still entertaining and kept you, rooting for the film. And it's just one of those great Harold Ramis films that is just one of those great 90s comedy, kind of romantic comedy type of deals that you just can watch over and over again. As we mentioned earlier, just how each time, it's just as good as the first time because it feels like watching the film, in a whole other light because you've gotten a little older, a little wiser and stuff like that. So I think overall the film is a very clever and well-written film that is a very timeless film. And I think even, 50 years from now, when it hits 50 or 60 years old, I still think that this film is going to be considered, one of those great classics they want to keep around so that, generations can see it because it's just such a great film. And to answer that question earlier about how they showed the clock up close, I thought it was kind of interesting at the same time is they actually built that clock. And just like it's everyone, like Joey said, it's Panasonic S5, whatever it was. But what they did is they actually smashed it with a hammer to get those close-up of it to look like it did when it flips from 5:59 to 6 a.m. and any of the ones that they did that in. So I think they did a good job, doing that without having to build any other type of version. They just made those versions that were already smashed, and that's how it got that look at those close-ups. So I thought that was kind of interesting little tidbit there. But yeah, great film, really well done. Overall, just a really fun film.
Awesome. All right, how about you, Joey? Any final thoughts on the film? Not necessarily the death clock, but just, what you thought in general.
I like the ending. It's a fairy tale ending, and it's a fairy tale movie. It's highly unrealistic, yet it's more realistic than, say, A Christmas Carol. Someone who's an asshole is not going to change overnight. It's the error of their ways. They have to figure it out on their own. And he has decades to do that. I don't feel like it was, like the original script where it was thousands of years. I think it felt more like it was years of him doing this. He definitely became essentially a pro bowler, a pro pool player, a professional piano player, a professional ice sculptor. All of these things take many, many years to perfect. I love the deleted scene where they have Bill Murray with the chainsaw, not pretending, but actually going up to each of the beautiful ice sculptures of the Groundhog and decapitating them one by one. There's a lot to this little movie that people might overlook, and it's a nuanced performance. And my other favorite time loop thing is when he's kind of sick of it almost. It's almost like an actor who's done too many takes, but they're telling him to do this. And it's like he's done the same play for way too long. And he's like, oh, look, there's some kids. Let's throw some snowballs at him. Oh, here's a humdinger. And he's just he's faking it. And that's right before things go off the rails where he can't fake it anymore with her. And he's actually not getting as far as he used to with her. And you see a real character arc that wouldn't have taken place quickly, but it takes place quickly for us within our condensed version of this movie. But for him, it's decades of change, and he actually becomes the man that she would tolerate. She's this perfection of as soon as you start acting like an asshole, I'm out of here. But he's not an asshole anymore. He's actually a good guy in the end.
Right. How about you, Andreas? Any final thoughts on the ending of the movie?
No. When we get the finally, when I was in the time loop, I was like, is this movie going to end? Is this going to be a 3-hour movie or a 4-hour movie? like how long is this going to happen? I was like, what's going to happen to me? I mean, I could just make popcorn and bring my Coke, my Coca-Cola, drink, and enjoy the 4 hour of Bill Murray suffering. But no, when they had their dance, when they started to get close towards the end, and then the loop breaks, and I was kind of surprised. And I love how the slow build. You thought maybe we're yet again restarting, and then the radios do something differently, and the sheer sun starts to end him completely, and then you get the shot where Bill's in the bed, and then Rhea's there, and it was so cool. And yeah, I just love that ending. So sweet. Just was kind of relief and very happy for him, because now he really got out of the loop, which is really great. And I apparently, when he say his last line, let's rent from the start, that was improvised by Bill. It was not from the script, so that was really cool. I always liked that line. And yeah, that's a fantastic movie. I always love it. I was so sad that this was the end of Ramis and Bill's collaboration. I always loved them together as actors. I mean, of course, we grew up watching Ghostbusters. Caddyshack, love that movie. So iconic, and I always felt really bad that they I was happy to hear that they did make up before his passing in 2014. I think if they end their collaboration, I'm happy that it was on Groundhog Day. Like, it's the pitch perfect movie. It just shows how creative Howard Ramis was as a director writer. I love his writing. He's the reason that Ghostbusters work. The reason that Caddyshack works. Like he just knew how to balance everything right. And of course, Vacation, the first movie. I mean, without him, that move franchise can never be successful as it is because of what Howard did. Yes, Chevy Chase was the ingredient, but like, I always think that Howard Ramis was the reason that made that movie so iconic. Yeah. Speaking of favorite moments, I just want to pick it back about the time loops. Like, I always laugh when Phil is so like thoughtful of how to seduce his woman. I always crack up with that, especially with Nancy. Like, he just asks her, like, what's your name? Nancy? And it's like, well, you went to high school. And like, you see the process of that. It's like so funny. But yeah, I thought it was really great. There was something. Oh, the kid he saved. You know what's funny about the kid he saved from the tree? He became a reporter in Punxsutawney as a news reporter. So that's something kind of funny that he saved by Phil.
He moved to Pennsylvania, or he became an Illinois news reporter because they shot it in Illinois.
Yeah, I think an Illinois reporter. If I think you're right, the Joey.
That would be hilarious if he intentionally moved to Punxsutawney.
Yeah. So, but yeah, fantastic movie. I'm very excited to rate this film and all that.
Nice. All right, Tim. What are your final thoughts on the end of the movie?
It's super satisfying. I mean, how can you not like the end of this film? And it's so much better than the original concept of it, because the original concept was Bill was going to wake up with Rita, or no, I'm sorry, Phil was going to wake up next to Rita and be out of his time loop, only to realize that she was in a time loop now. So he would be in a time loop yet again, but only he wouldn't realize because it would be her time loop involving him. So I think this is so much more satisfying, because what does this basically become? Guys, I'm just going to tell you now, it's a rom-com, but it's a really good rom-com. So next time your girlfriend wants to watch a rom-com, go, I got the perfect one, pull out the Groundhog Day. It's just, because it's got that satisfying ending. He's become a better person, throughout this film. It's fun to watch. It's not too dark. It's funny. I mean, there's absolutely great funny parts in here. It's a family movie. You can watch it with everybody. And not only do you get to watch him grow as a person, but when it's over and the credits have rolled, it gets, I don't know about you guys, but it gets me thinking. I'm like, what would I do if that happened to me? Like, what would I study? Like, would I become a pool shark? Would I become like a guitar virtuoso? Would I, what would I study and things like that? And how
I would become a pilot and fly the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I mean, you could do so many cool things with that kind of time. And then it begs the question, how long would it take you to develop the best you? Which is what happens to Bill over this 10-year span. He not only, becomes very skilled and talented at things, but then later he starts to develop himself into the best version of himself, which then endears him to Rita, because he becomes more than what he was in the beginning, and she sees these qualities in him, and that's what draws her to him, which eventually ends the time loop. And again, I will reiterate too, best use of a time loop I've ever seen. It not overcomplicated. Don't have to overthink it. It's just very, it's just out there. You understand what's going on, and you don't have to question it. There's no like, oh, well, what happened if blah, blah, blah. Nope. It's just, it makes sense all the way through. So, but yeah, it just, like I said, at the end, it's his development as a person that helps endear him to her, that creates this true love, between them, and finally kicks him out of the time loop. So it's just a very satisfying ending.
Yeah. I have to agree with all you guys. This was a very satisfying ending. It's sad that it was the movie that broke up the great act of Murray and Ramis. And I would have loved to see more movies from those two. Because even when they have a disagreement and they can still manage to make a movie like this, it's a fun movie. I mean, it hits all elements. You got some fantasy, you got a little bit of science fiction in there, you got your rom-com. It's all built in this movie, and it's a fun movie, and I really enjoy the ending of this movie. So, but before we get into our death clock, let's go ahead and settle up our point values here. So Andreas, you have 5. Tim, you have 7. Cyber, you are also at 5, and Joey, you are at 6. So in order to really make it even for everybody, I decided to instill a new thing for 2025, and for our New Year's, we've changed a few things up, and here's a final bonus round question for you guys. Okay, so the person with the lowest number, I need you to pick a number between 1 and 5, and of course, there's 2 of you guys with the lowest score. So I'm going to ask both of you guys to pick a number between 1 and 5. And that is one of 5 movies that have been selected from our 1,001 movies to watch before you die list. The first person to name the movie from this poorly written description will receive 5 bonus points. They will either move up in the ranks or clinch the title of number 1 panelist for tonight. They will take home nothing but bragging rights for the week. So, Andreas, what number do you pick?
Okay, 3.
3?
Yeah.
Cyber, what number do you pick?
You mean?
I'm sorry, you're muted.
2.
2. All right. So, Andreas, you have picked this movie. The first person who can answer this film to tell me what this movie is gets 5 points. A militant group comes into a man's home and tells him what to do.
Oh, God.
The Patriot?
No.
No, is it the Bruce Willis movie? Man Cry? Oh, God. I'm gonna be embarrassed.
You mean Hostage?
Hostage?
Hold on.
Yeah.
What did I do with my answers? I wrote these, but I didn't put the answers down.
The
5
answer
points
is
for
the Diary
everybody.
of Anne Frank.
Hold on.
The Sound of Music.
Sound music.
I would buy
Tears
that one.
of the Sun.
It was a movie we did. Now I can't remember what it was.
The
Shit.
Big Lebowski.
No.
They come into his house and they tell him what to do, and then they piss on his rug or take it or something, don't they?
I think.
Oh, now I remember what it was. Okay. All right. Yeah. Militant group comes into a man's home and tells him what to do. Forbidden Planet.
Wait, Forbidden Planet? No way.
That was poorly worded.
Yeah. All right. Young man inherits family business and goes on to revolutionize the world of medicine.
What the hell? Okay.
Here's business and revolutionizes medicine.
Is that Medicine Man?
2001 movie.
Read it one more time, Matthew.
Yeah.
Young man inherits family business and goes on to revolutionize the world of medicine.
Don't say It's a Wonderful Life, because all he did was save one kid.
Nope, it's Not a Wonderful Life.
Did inherit the family business, though.
Dang.
Is it Limitless? Is it that Bradley Cooper movie, Limitless?
Limitless?
It
Yeah.
sounds like Limitless, except
Yeah.
that there's no family business.
Yeah, I don't know. Hold on.
Yeah, I think he starts to sell it to people in little small doses.
Yeah.
All right, here's a big hint for you. Putting on the Reds.
Oh, Young
my
Frankenstein.
God.
What?
Yes. As we all know, the points mean nothing, and that all you guys get is bragging rights. All right. Well, let's go ahead.
Simon's so infuriated, he's not even muted, and he's muted himself.
I got points for you. So, Clarence Boddicker from RoboCop, and also Red from That 70s Show.
Yep,
The actor Kurtwood Smith is the star of 12:01 p.m., which they ripped off. And then the feature-length version of that short film is the guy from Weekend at Bernie's, not Bernie's, but Jonathan Silverman, is in the 1201 90-minute movie where, hey, this one takes place at midnight, so they left off the PM. So go out there and watch 1201 PM, and then if you have it in you, watch 1201, which is 90 minutes. The 1201 PM, I vouch for it. It's fucking great, and Kurtwood Smith is legendary. The 1201, I'm probably never going to get around to watching that. I mean, because the most famous people in it, the star is from Weekend at Bernie's, and then the lady who played Supergirl, and then who's the dude from Mission Impossible that played Bela Lugosi? Finally won a Oscar.
Martin Landau.
Martin Landau's in it, but it's not his best work.
And hey, that brings us to our death clock. All right, gentlemen.
No, we gotta have this. What's this total? Did you figure out where the lost points are? Where are we at with this thing?
I lost track of the points. Tim, you have 12. Joey, you got 8. Andreas, you have 9, and Cyber, you get 10. So congratulations, gentlemen. The points mean nothing. Tim gets the bragging rights. Joey gets the BS award. And now here we are at the death clock.
You know what they say. 8 is enough.
Is this movie worth taking the hour and holy crap? A little help here, gentlemen. Runtime on I
think an hour and 42.
Okay, an hour and 42 minutes off your death clock to watch Groundhog's Day. And I'm going to shoot us all off by saying, yes, it is probably by far my favorite Bill Murray and Harold Ramis collaboration. I love this movie very much. It has got everything in it, as I had said before. Perfect for the whole family to watch, as Tim has said. So I'll turn it over to you, Cyber. Is it worth taking time off your death clock?
I also agree with you, sir, that it's definitely worth time off your death clock. It's got great value to it. It's got a great story, great acting, great cast, great directing by Harold Ramis. It is just a great, kind of time loop, kind of repeating your day type of film. This was kind of the predecessor to like films like Happy Death Day and other films that are kind of like the same, like Freaky and all that kind of stuff. So, it's one of those films that I think is, for being 31 years old, going to be 32 years old, it's very much a timeless classic that I think, when it hits its 70th, 80th anniversary, people are going to be like, we got to preserve this. We got to make sure future generations see it. And it's just one of those great films that's just definitely worth taking that time off your death clock.
All right. How about you, Joey?
It's 110% worth taking time off your death clock. Unlike the short film and the short story, where that's more about this guy's caught up in an hour of his routine day. Like he does the same job, he has the same lunch and everything, and he's stuck in that hour of his life. Bill Murray has a whole day where he can like play around and he can actually change himself, if not the events around him. It definitely loses that sight of, we're all stuck in a rut. They do have a line about it. The one guy, he describes, he's like, what if you were stuck in the same town doing the same thing? There's nothing you could do about it. And the guy, the drunk says, he goes, yeah, that about sums it up for me. So like, people feel like they're stuck in their lives and they're doing the same thing again and again. And it needs to be, you need to explore yourself, challenge yourself, and change yourself in order to change your circumstances. And Harold Ramis said he got letters from yogis, practitioners of yoga, and Buddhists, saying, this movie, it gets us. This is what we're talking about. It's like, you can change your perception, you can give yourself purpose, and you can be a better person. So, yeah, take the time off your death clock. Watch it at least once a year. Oh, I don't know. Maybe watch it in February.
Like February 3rd?
Yeah. It might be too real on February 2nd.
Yeah.
But, yeah, watch this movie again and again, and you'll notice something different every time.
Yeah. All right, Andreas, over to you. Is it worth taking time off your death clock?
Pardon my French. Fuck yeah. it was worth the death clock. Folks, what's wrong with you? Stop sleeping under your bed. Watch the film. It's fucking amazing. It's fucking great. I don't care I'm cursing so much. I'm telling you right now, it's a fucking amazing movie. It should have won the fucking Oscars of 1993 for Best Picture. That's how good it is. And this is how crazy I'm going to be towards the end of this podcast. Anyway, fantastic movie. I mean, the fact that this is such a popular movie. The fact that AMC, when I was growing up, AMC or whatever channel had this movie repeat on the day of February 2nd, Groundhog Day. It just shows you how culturally popular this film is, and I just love it. I will always tune in this movie, whatever get to Groundhog Day. So I just love this movie. It's one of my personal favorite movies of all time. It's my favorite Bill Maher movie and Howard Ramis movie. It's fantastic. It's directed well. I just love it. So I just want to thank Matt, Tim, Joey, and of course Cyber for joining me and talking about this movie today. And it helped me a lot to let the stress and all that's been going on with my life right now. So I was very happy to see this movie and release, this crazy thing that's going on in my life. And that's one of the things that's great about Groundhog Day. It's such a therapeutic film for like people like you're kind of like very you're like very selfless, or like you're just kind of here, but like it's like what I'm doing here, what's my life, what's the meaning of life? And I think this really kind of answered that for you, and like in a way that's very unique, and I appreciate that. So it's worth my death clock.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for giving us our explicit tag tonight. Tim, over to you. Don't answer angry. Where do you put it in the death clock?
Well, Matthew, let me try to be as subtle as I can. Yes, it's absolutely worth an hour and 41 minutes of your life. Or if you find yourself in a 10-year, time loop, 8,700 or 87,600 hours of your life. So, it's a fun movie. It's again, something you can watch with the whole family. It's enjoyable. It's going to make you, it's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you happy. And it's probably one of Bill Murray's finest moments in film. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's done a lot of great films, but if I had to pick just one Bill Murray film, this might be it for me. I mean, this would be the one I'd be like, if you're going to watch no other Bill Murray film ever again in your life, watch Groundhog Day. It's because it's just that good. I mean, it really is.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Well, that brings us to mail call. No mail today, but listener, you can email our show at manreviewpodcast@gmail.com. And if you have a thought on a show, let us know. We'll read your email right here on the show and probably address any questions you have. So, all right, gentlemen. Well, that takes us to the end of our show. Does anybody want to have a what you watching, or should we truncate that due to time?
I got something brief, but it'll be quick.
Okay.
For me. Well, folks, right now, currently for me, if you guys tune in for the MCU Bleeding Edge, with me and Cyber, we're doing What If for Monday Reports. So that's what I'm currently watching right now, season 3. And especially, with my mom, recently we watching Yellowstone, the Kevin Costner show, in Paramount Network. Great show. We're in season 4 right now, so we're very excited to get into hopefully the final season and see some of the spinoffs. So that's what I'm currently watching right now.
Okay. Anyone else got anything they want to add in?
Oh yeah, I've been watching the Fallout series. Finally made it around to that one, and it's definitely worth the hype. I mean, it's a good show. I'm only 4 episodes in so far, but I'm hooked, man. Talk about a TV series that really brings the gaming world alive. I mean, they did a great job with this. So, and the storyline seems rock solid. The characters are really good. I mean, just everything about this show is just spot on. So, if unless I may be the last person on the planet that hasn't seen it, but if you have any interest in it, I would tell you absolutely go out and watch this. You won't be disappointed.
Well, you're not the last person on there to watch it. I haven't watched it yet. So,
all right.
Considering you've recommended it, I'll have to dust off the TV and check it out. How about you, Joey? Anything you're watching that you want to plug?
My wife and I, we watched, we binged it. Squid Game Season 2. And it was great. Spoiler, Season 2 and 3 were shot back to back because it's basically one big ass long season. So, it's really the first half of Season 2, and second half of Season 2 will be Season 3. So I can't wait for that. That's coming in 2025. And if you haven't seen Squid Game, watch it. And then watch the Squid Game, The Challenge, the reality show where they have people play the actual games but not die. And then watch Squid Game Season 2. You will not regret it, unless, you get a little queasy. A lot of blood. A lot of subtitles. But
Gotcha.
I prefer the original language tracks. I want to hear their feeling. I don't want to hear some second-rate actor do the fucking English version.
Gotcha. All right, Cyber, you got anything that you want to plug for what you're watching or anything like that?
Honestly, I've been all over the place watching stuff, older stuff. But like for newer stuff, I've been watching that recently new High Potential with Caitlin Olsen, which has been pretty good. Animal Control is a really great comedy. If you haven't seen that, super funny. Joel McHale, super hilarious if you like that type of sitcom. Also, the new Matlock series with Kathy Bates is really good too. Been watching that, and then also been watching Dennis Leary's new show called Going Dutch, which was a really fun first episode. So, yeah, I've been all over the place watching stuff. I've been watching Frasier. I've been watching Last Man Standing, Home Improvement. Everything you think of, I'm like watching bits and pieces here. So, but yeah, highly recommend check out any of those newer shows. They're all pretty. They got pretty good lineup right now over there on ABC.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we drive this bus home, I just want to take a moment to let our listeners know that. Before we drive this bus home, I want to thank Andreas and Cyber for joining us tonight. Andreas, where can our listeners know more about you, and where can they hear about some of your witty banter?
Oh, great. Well, if you want adventure and time with me in space, you can join me in the Andreas Pop Culture Channel Presents. That's my main channel where I do all things pop culture stuff like movies, TV, characters, and all that jazz. And plus, I always join Cyber and, of course, our magnificent True Knowledge himself, Jeff, in the MCU Bleeding Edge, as well discussing any MCU content or, in general, TV and movies as well. So please join us there. We always do it either Monday or Fridays. So thank you, Matt, Tim, Joey. It was great to see you guys again. Happy late New Year. It was fun. I was so happy we discussed Groundhog Day. It was the best day today for me.
Fantastic. How about you, Cyber? Other than the MCU, where can people hear your stuff?
Well, you can check me out under the name CyberneticShark. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon. Pretty much post on those all pretty regularly. My main page, of course, is YouTube. If you want to check out my reviews or trailer reactions or any of that kind of stuff, you can check it out. Go back to when I first started. And check out some hilarious first videos. They're always fun to watch. And but if you go on to my recent videos, you can see my Superman trailer reaction or my review of Kraven the Hunter. You check those both out if you like. And as always, I also have shorts there that I pop up for you guys too, as well as mini reviews on recent movies I've seen. So if you want to see anything else CyberneticShark, you can find it on there. And thank you for having me on as usual. It's always fun to hang out with the middle-aged guys.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening to the Middle Age Movie Reviews podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our review of Groundhog Day, and we ask that you leave a rating or a comment on whatever platform you listen to us on. I want to thank Cyber and Andreas for joining us tonight. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you in the hot seat.
Follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Have a comment or suggestion? Then email the show at manreviewspodcast@gmail.com.
You know, in the original script, Bill Murray got caught up in a blend of orange, lemon, lime, apple, cherry, raspberry, and blueberry. He got caught in a Fruit Loop.
Hello, welcome to the Middle Age Movie Reviews podcast. Three guys saying, yeah, we'll have 3 cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, 2 chocolate steaks, and 1 large Coke.
Flapjacks.
What's that, Joey?
Flapjacks.
And some flapjacks.
Mm-hmm.
Is it too early for flapjacks? Anyway, my name is Tim, and my podcasting partners are...
Matt.
Joey.
Joining us tonight, a man who retains cinematic knowledge as if he's watching the same films in an endless cycle. From CyberneticShark and the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channels, it's Cyber! Say hello, Cyber.
Salutations, folks.
Also joining us tonight is a man who may be the reason you experienced Deja Vu. From the Andreas the Pop Culture Guy and MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channels, it's Andreas! Say hello, Andreas.
Hola, amigos. Get busy living or get busy in podcasting, folks.
All right, Joey. Why don't you tell us what we're watching yet again on the television tonight?
Tonight we are watching the 1993 movie Groundhog Day, number 897 from the book of 1001 Movies You Should Watch Before You Die, written by Danny Rubin and Harold Ramis, directed by Harold Ramis, and starring Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and Chris Elliot.
Hey guys, do you feel like we've done this before?
Bing!